So this is how to change an alternator on 2006 Ford Focus. This has the 2-liter Duratech motor. They manufactured this one from 2005 through 2007. So first off, you want to remove this coolant reservoir. There's a bolt just down here at the side. It's pre-removed. I believe it was an 8mm. And then there's a tab at the back here, which makes it pull off. Then it can sit off to the side here. Power steering, there will be, there's no bolts holding on. It just has a snug fit with the rubber grommet. It can pop out and off to the side here. And then there is also a little capacitor that sits on top here. You got to be very careful with him. The wires are very susceptible to falling out. It just has a 10mm that holds a ground strap there and plugs in right at this side. I just took it off to be easiest. And then you have 3 15mm bolts for the left-hand side, or sorry, passenger side engine mount. You want to remove those 3 so the motor will shift forward to get to the alternator, which I'm pointing at right now. So underneath the vehicle right now, there is this cover. I have it set off to the side at the back here. It has 2 bolts, which I'll show you are both 10mm. It fits right up in here, and the first bolt attaches against this metal bracket right where I'm pointing. It's a little dark, so sorry for that. And then the second one is just located at this hole right here, and it covers this belt up here in the bottom just to protect it from different debris. So underneath the vehicle again, this is a 15mm wrench. The very far last pulley, the one that the wrench is tapping right now, is your idler pulley that adds tension. So you do want to remove your entire serpentine belt. It is quite a long one, up to I think near 85 inches total. And all you want to do is just grab against the CV joint, pull the wrench towards it. You can do it with one hand, and then it's really nice if you get a friend at top and remove the belt. So now that the belt is removed, you can actually take the whole motor, give it a good yank in here. And give it a move as far forward as you can. It's about an inch, but it'll basically allow this whole area for the alternator to come up out of the back. Alrighty, so now that the motor's shifted forward, belt's off, everything, you can see it fairly clearly back here. There's one nut on what we're gonna call the top stud. It's a 15mm. You can just grab a wrench and then spin it completely off. And then from the bottom side, I'll show you there where the rest of them all are. One other thing while we're at the top here, there is this, what's called the air intake. It's just meant for cooling off the alternator that we can take out. And then once that nut is off, the top shield is loose from the top. We'll have to go around to the bottom and loosen it next. Alrighty, around the bottom now, you can see the alternator. I'll point to it right there. On the, I guess, closest to the passenger side, there is a nut on the lower stud, we'll call it. We have to take that off to get the plastic heat shielding off. And then there's also another one at the bottom here on the left here, but he's not, he's just holding on the alternator, nothing else. And then slightly above, right where I'm pointing right here, is the main power lead from the, from the alternator to the battery there that we'll also have to remove. I'll update you with the size when I get there. Alrighty, so right now I got the wrench on. Sorry, I took off the cover. That just pops off right after you get that nut off there. And then there's another 15mm nut underneath that on the lower stud. And then the left lower one is just a 13mm, and both of those can come off at this point now. Alrighty, back from the top now. I got the two, the nut and the bolt out of the bottom there. You can see the alternator down here, and once the cover's off, there's like a little wire that's your power wire, and it's attached to this weird washer looking thing, and it can just be basically, come on, get up there, mangled off and reveal a nut underneath of a 15mm. Throw your wrench on there, loosen that off, and then the alternator will basically be loose and free. And then there's a trick to getting it out. We're setting it up to take it out the top of the motor. Alrighty, up next, there's this piece of plastic that sits right in here. It just has some tabs, comes right off. And then there's also a couple pin clips here just to loosen off so that your wires are nice and free and you can pull the whole alternator out with no issues there. I have the bolt on the top stud removed. The next trick is to actually find, I'll update you with the size, a socket that fits over the end here, because this stud just threads into the block, and you have to remove the upper one to enable it to clear enough room for it just to come straight out the top here. So this stud is an actual 1/4 inch. Attach your ratchet, and then he's going to be pretty tight, but he'll just thread right out of the block there. Alrighty, so now with that stud removed, just looks like this. Threads in there, comes out. Then next part would be to actually remove the alternator, and it is pretty heavy, so be careful, and it just slides off the bottom one. I'm gonna wait till I have 2 hands there for it, and just be careful of these wires up top here, and just set it on the top of the motor is a pretty good spot to continue on. So the alternator right now is sitting a little suspended here, just jammed up. Either way, there's this plastic cover still meant for the heat shielding on the other side of the motor. Just a 1/2 inch fits on there, and you want to take out that bolt on the top, which, well, where it's sitting on top now. So the last piece to get the alternator out of the top, you can see it's almost right out, is to remove this, it's some sort of vacuum line, and your fuel lines come through here at the top. There's one over here, which is a 9/32, and one over here, which is, of course, another 9/32 there. Alrighty, now that the alternator is fully removed, we got the main power lead, which is held on by a 10 mil, and then just be careful removing your field coil connection. It's very brittle plastic there. And then the process is just reverse for putting it all the way back in, and it hides right back there.